often do we tell ourselves, I can't do this, it's too hard, or my personal favorite, it's time to quit and order pizza? Too often, we get these little voices in our heads. They're always trying to deter us from our goals. And if I'm being honest, I call them little voices because they're small and just don't matter. You might be wondering, but how do you get rid of these little voices? Well, that's my little secret. But before I can tell you what that secret is, let me share something that happened recently with my brother. You see, my brother loves swimming, probably more than I love procrastinating. However, the harsh reality was that he wasn't actually good at it. Take this photo here as an example. Take a guess. Did he finish in first, second, third? Well, sadly, he actually finished last. And to make matters even worse, he's swimming with swimmers aged 2 years younger than him. So yeah, you could say he was pretty bad. And he knew that, and this tilted him, and he really wanted to quit. And our parents were heartbroken at this sight. So they decided to teach him a valuable lesson: grit. Now, if I'm being completely honest with you guys, at the time, I didn't really know what grit was. I thought it was one of those things that parents had to tell their children, like never give up or follow your dreams. And I didn't pay much attention to it. But for my brother, grit was almost something mystical because he actually started putting in the work. He actually started going to swimming trainings on time. He actually started following his diet plan and even the optional exercises that the coach gave him to do at home. And fortunately, this paid off for him. Even when he was losing to 9-year-olds again, this didn't deter him. If anything, it motivated him even more to reach the top. Unfortunately, he reached his goal. This is him, just a year and a half later, getting 4th in Saudi Arabia for his age group. Now, how did he do this? The answer is simple: grit. I know you guys might be thinking, but you didn't explain what grit is. Sorry, that's on me. Let me explain what grit is. Why do some people stick to their goals day in and day out with no intention of giving up, while others just quit at the first sign of trouble? It's because of grit. Grit is the combination of passion and perseverance applied over the long term. It's about having the stamina to endure challenges and setbacks and makes people unique in their own way. For example, if how Jeff Bezos had quit, he wouldn't have Amazon. And if Elon Musk had given up on Tesla, we didn't have cars zipping into space. And if my brother had quit on swimming, he wouldn't have reached to where he was today. You know, I like to think of these moments as those scenes in superhero movies where the villain turns out to be the hero. Well, minus the CGI and slow motion effects. Now you guys might be thinking, look at this guy talking about everyone, millionaires, his friends, but he's not talking about himself. So, I'm sorry, let me talk about myself a bit. Take a guess if you've seen me a year ago. Raise your hand. Not that many, right? Well, take a guess of how much I weighed back then. For context, I weigh 59 kilos right now. Well, I know it's embarrassing, but I was a whopping 78 kilos. Yeah, I've been obese my entire life. And do you think I lost all of this weight in a day, in a week, in a month? No, it took me over a year and a half to reach here. And my day wasn't easy. I actually had to get up and do the work because most people just sit around like this guy waiting for a radioactive spider to bite them. But no, you have to get up, do the work because nothing's just gonna come to you naturally. Don't believe me? Here's what my average day looked like. I woke up at around 5 o'clock. I went for a short run, came back, and went to school. Unlike any other normal kids, I didn't go home at 2:30. I had to go for a 2-hour after school. And you guessed wrong, I didn't go home after that. I had to go for an 1.5-hour football session. You guessed wrong again. I didn't go home after that either. I had to go for a 2-hour swim session. And by the time I reached home, it was already like 8 o'clock. Now, it's not all suns and roses because don't forget, I was a middle school student. I still had tests, assignments, and homework to catch up on. And I know for some of you sitting in the crowd acting tough, saying, okay, fine, this is easy. But imagine doing this for 2 years in a row, well, excluding holidays and weekends. Now, this is where most people confuse passion with grit. Because passion is just being passionate about something, but not actually doing anything to work towards it. Like my example. Like, how many of you are passionate about something? Raise your hand. Be honest. How many of you are actually working to reach towards that goal? Okay, it's a tough crowd. This is me, yeah, okay. Yeah. Now, a study was done where people went to various places and asked grit questionnaires. They went to teachers in enough neighborhoods to see who would quit and who would last the longest. They went to high schools to see which boys would graduate at the top of their class and who would drop out. They even went to marine academies to see who would make the most progress and who wouldn't progress at all. Want to know what they found? There was always one outcome that stood above the rest. You guessed it, it was grit. Grit was the highest predictor of success, surpassing even passion and intelligence. With grit, they could predict people at the time who had very high SAT scores would drop out, and people who were very stupid at the time would graduate. They could all predict this with grit. In closing, I don't know if you guys are just gonna go home and forget this whole TED Talk or actually apply grit into your own lives. But I like you guys, so there's this one quote that I want to tell you that might sway your mind, that Angela Lee Duckworth always said, "Talent without hard work is just unmet potential." Now, the choices are endless. You could do whatever you're passionate about or whatever you like, whether it's as small as waking up 5 minutes earlier to get to the bus on time, or as big as going to the Olympics one day. And with that, I conclude my speech. This is Omar Majdi Hamdan, signing off.